this is a very envious task, as you know, and the length and breadth of the discussions that we had today on the policy itself is enormous. And I have almost 16 pages of note down. I will not say to that. I'll try to say only the essence of it, what I remember. I might have forgotten also, but eventually you will get a full report that is happening. Dilip welcomed you and said about the inclusive market-oriented development. The word market came a number of times in the deliberations, especially very clearly said that without the market, no private institution will come and no private sector will come. So he set that tone from there, which Nirmal talked about the STA policy. I'm not going to say anything on that because you've got a policy document with you. He highlighted the policies, which Dr. Dar actually summarized in his speech that where India is now compared to maybe China or US, but in his written speech, which he didn't touch, he actually had a written speech, which he clearly said that we'll have to do much better in science policies, which should touch the millions of underprivileged. That was the theme actually which came along. Now, without innovations, you will not get it. Now, the policy which Nirmala gave the historical background from 1953, how it has changed, and now it is the science which should drive that technology, which should drive the innovations, and which should really touch the lives of the millions that we are talking about. So that's the, if you say supply chain, that is the supply chain the probably DST is thinking about. But what we heard in the end, I'm touching the one because I'm remembering him, that DST has not really closed its mind, what I get, if I'm not wrong. And it is probably open, but there was probably feeling that these are absolutely sacrosanct, you cannot get out of the policy, and I hope it is not that. It is still emerging, it is still developing into a policy which should be realistic. Now the difficult part is the implementation part, and there these 4 sessions were there where the brainstorming session happened. The first session, which was Dr. Vani, I'm not going to touch DG space also much there, which has given a very typical example, a case study, excellent case study, where governmental organizations can be also taken into development side, which never happened before, which is probably a, I would say, watershed development. He is in watershed, I'm in a different meaning, that this is a watershed development where government agencies can be catalyzed right from the top, from the minister, and things can happen. Now, probably these lessons should be taken into more into DST's implementation target, where collaboration again has come and again, collaboration, multi skills, multi institutions, public, private, public, everything has come. And it's probably a lesson in learning how collaborations can happen and can collaborations go into development. Ultimately, we are talking about development, ultimately talking about taking India to a place where we spend more money so that our people livelihood gets increased and all that. I've been working with the foundation, a seed company foundation for the last 8 months, which they have gone into high value vegetable cultivation. Now, they have learned after a couple of years that it is not only important to have vegetable cultivation, how do they sell it? Because ultimately you have to sell it. If you can't sell it, they will go back to their own crops. It also has, I've been to one of the projects in Kalahandi, which is supposed to be one of the most backward district in Orissa. It's no more backward. It has got irrigation. It is now green. It is one of the highest acreage of paddy. But the farmers were only growing paddy and pulses and little bit oilseed, which is the basic requirement. Oil, protein and cereals. They were not taking vegetables at all. I had been to a tribal farmer's hamlet down the hill, and the whole population was malnutrition, absolutely malnutrition, children to adults. They were almost half dead, they wouldn't talk even, because they were taking only rice and pulse and these things for ages. And they were now being taught how to take Karela, how to take this thing and that thing. And when it will happen, we don't know. But what Dr. Dar said, malnutrition is the biggest challenge. I think Professor Rapporteur Sen also is talking now relatively in the last 2 weeks that we have not addressed the malnutrition in our country. So DST policies, the program when they're formulated, when the programs are actually coming, which Nirmala said that it will probably transfer into more tangible programs, solid programs which can go ahead. Probably malnutrition somewhere has to come, and that change, or that's again an agriculture field, and agriculture being of the most important, 65% population in agriculture. So that probably has to somewhere it has to come. I'm not going to details of what Dr. Vani said because his slide set will be there, but I think that's a collaboration model that he has presented is very, very important. Dr. Dar's written thing also mentioned about inclusive development and also touching the lives of millions. And he also said science with human face, which is the slogan he actually created for ICRISAT about 10 years back. ICRISAT people will tell. After I retired and Dr. Dar joined in ICRISAT. So, but after that he came. I think that's a very important point. We forget that we sit in a ivory tower. We are the scientists. We know everything. Farmers don't know anything. And then we don't touch them. So that human face has to come somewhere. Nirmal, again, if you talk about science policies, that has to come into the human side also, somewhere written there. Sandhya Kore, your speech was really very, very interesting because you have seen both worlds. I was talking to at lunchtime. Because I have seen it in myself being a trainer. From when you shift from pedagogy to andragogy, which is adult education, in my training programs, first thing I say, please ask questions. Nobody will ask questions because our school system has grown up in such a way over from the British period that you're not supposed to ask any question. And that has stopped or killed our curiosity in our children. They stop thinking that something can be done, which is not in US system or say Western systems. I don't know how to change that, but the science policy will ultimately change it. Now I hear that private schools are using digitized classrooms. You have got projectors there. There are actually 5 or 6 companies making enormous money of producing digitized syllabus. From there you can buy it, you can go to the online. Everything is happening, but is it really touching the really poor people in the villages? There are villages which doesn't have even a mobile connection. The villages, there is no electricity. People travel 12 kilometers to go to a village. It's still happening in India. Still we are talking about very high-tech classrooms in our schools. My daughter-in-law teaches in Rohtak in Indus Valley. And she says my eyes are getting problem because it's very high luminous projection that goes in. Health effect of digital classroom is also catching up the teachers. And as you said, the teachers are syllabus oriented. They have no time for anything development side. I don't know, our school system itself has become into a stagnant and a very rotten system where you don't encourage creativity, you don't encourage any questioning. My schooling was in Shantiniketan. I'm a Tagorian, you can say. And I remember we had a teacher, we had a class which was nature study. Our teacher will take us, go down the trees and plants, he will show, we will collect those caterpillars. Then we were encouraged to put leaves and in the house, they will winter pupa and then with the basket, then you would understand the whole of insects, how they grow. And that was and we used to sit under the mango tree. Okay, sometimes we get lost when the mango will fall, then we'll catch it instead of listening to the teacher. That has also happened. But I had a wonderful time in my school, Shantiniketan, which is now happening nowhere in the India. Practically, Shantin is also gone now. What I heard is Shantiniketan now. No more Shantiniketan. Anyway, that's part of the personal thing. But I think this is very important. Sandhya touched about the framework and the relevance and the matrix. And that's probably the key words where a successful education system you can bring. Sustainability is a big question. Benchmarking is a big question. The stakeholders are all governments, teachers, private institutions. We are in Hyderabad, and you probably know there is a very unholy competition between the private schools, corporate schools you can say. I won't name them, you know all them. And they are actually collecting money just to put, so somebody gets the first in the JEE, his name is put by five schools, that he is the first from our school, and that is happening. And all the pictures will come. I don't know where we are going. I mean, this is a brainstorming, yes. That's also brainstorming, yes. So that's also happening. And one school went into another school that they have stolen our pictures. It has happened, go to the court, and they're putting it now. This is the situation in our intermediate schools, what is happening. So parents, I think parents are in a big peer pressure. Everybody wants to put their sons and daughters into either medical is the biggest now. 50 lakhs is the price of one management seat from my friend I knew. And this is where things are really going into a different way. And the science technology policy, whether it will touch that area, I have no idea. But these are the scenarios, because from the schools only we are getting our future scientists. I think in one of the sessions we said, Nirmala said, this is the program which has come from the schools to have the scholarship. I know one of the private companies, they wanted to encourage vegetable cultivation for nutrition, and they roped in a school. They didn't go to the women of the houses or SHGs. They roped in the school, they taught the children to grow vegetables. It was an enormous success because they went to the home and they started growing vegetables there. It was a really big success in really, really remote villages it happened. So things are, I'm not saying, I wouldn't lose hope into that. I think there are future, there are a lot of instances where things have happened. Nurturing excellence is one of the biggest problems that we have. How do we nurture excellence? And we clearly told that also, that when students have good marks, nobody teaches, they go to the science and go to some other place. And that's why we find in universities, very few are going to the science, enrollment is very low, but there's a big rush to go to the technical colleges for getting a job or going to US or getting married. One of the things, that factor that will come. Curiosity, that is the key word I think, which were killed totally, and how do we encourage it also, we need to see that one. Integrated learning is one of the major point. Mutually reinforcing subject that you have mentioned, and it should be strongly integrated. And you say that we have to make it relevant to the which we need now, and this is the probably one of the good things is happening, that even government has realized that our education system is now no more relevant. I will tell one example which is happening now. Many people in agriculture field may or may not know that there is an Indo-US joint commission now working on changing the curriculum of the agriculture universities, which should be more industry oriented. I myself was a teacher in the agriculture university, and I know the students that we have taught are not ready for industry, which is happening in every field, in IT and engineering, everywhere. And this commission has been reviewing, just like this brainstorming session with the industries also. They came to my industry that I was working for, and they have started working with Eastern universities, starting from BHU and one university in Meerut. Dr. Ramasamy, who is the Vice Chancellor of TNU, is the head of that group as a consultant, and Sadhguru Consultancy are of the group. So they are changing, and 6 universities in US, including Cornell, is on the collaborating university. So maybe another 2 years' time, you'll find the curriculum has totally changed in the university, and they will go from east to north and everywhere. So these are happening. It's not that it's not. There is a awareness that we need to change that, because it's a big issue of industry not getting trained people. Infosys spends, I think, millions in the training people in Mysore. I think their capacity is 1,500. Even after training, they reject about 30%. That's the figure I heard. The only 70% ultimately taken into the company. So it's enormous cost of what we're doing, duplicating things and not doing anything. I'm now lost. Okay, we come to the third session where, have I missed the first session? Okay, that was the second session. We had this third session where Nita was the speaker. I may add here that Nita's father and I were colleagues, and we lived in this campus for almost 20 years. I've seen her growing up from a little kid. I'm quite amazed that where she has gone now. We are proud of it. Our children have really gone into places. So there. So Nita, keep it up. There. And so I lost contact with her. I just talked to her father yesterday because he's a land and water management scientist in here. But Nita has excellently covered the private industry where it can come. And Dr. Kondenia, who is the head of the Advanta Seeds, and I have worked with the seed industry for about 5 years. And research, what I heard that Indian seed industries, except Monsanto or Syngenta, which are multinationals, they spend about 800 million to 1.2 billion only on research, but not in India. They spend the research in Thailand or US or any other places. And Indian companies just doesn't have that much of money to produce really good quality varieties or hybrids. These are mostly polished. They take some varieties and polish it. No basic research goes into that. Only Monsanto has. Monsanto makes money with their BT gene by selling it to every company. Syngenta also has the same thing. They're all on BT genes. DuPont here, DuPont Technology Center here, I think engages about 150 scientists or something. They spend millions. So in some another 5 years, they will come with the products there. But Indian companies just don't have that much money to spend on R&D. What R&D has, the company I worked is absolute eyewash. It had 4 farms, but there was no really basic research to find out a good variety for the farmers. It was only market driven again, what variety can come. So Nita is very well given what GDP percentage you are spending, what US does and what China does, and give us some excellent examples from the companies that you are doing in. I think those are learning lessons where you can put extrapolate to other industries, other sectors also. I mean, pharma is one thing was happening. Uh, uh, Somebody said that there are more should be Shanta Biotics and Bharat Biotics, which is coming out from there, but it is not happening that way. But I think last comment by Dr. Haribabu, which is very important, which is in US, the federal research goes into the universities, and that's how the university is funded there. And here it is totally kind of a dole. I give you 2 crores. I remember the Agriculture University I was working in near Calcutta. Our salaries, the vice chancellor had to beg to go to the Rattis building, sit on the secretary, साहब पैसा दीजिए कल salary देना है. That was the situation. And the checks will be given on first. Everybody will run to the bank. Bank will close down if it is a Saturday and people will go back. There's no money. Our salary was that time was only 400 rupees, but even that was an issue there. So that situation has not changed. The state agriculture universities, it is really government which nudges. They have no income at all from any product anywhere. Certainly, Central University a little better. You get more money from the other part. Because I was in the university system, I have seen that what is happening there, and really the money for R&D is really less. I happened to do my postdoctoral in the UK, and I did some work on biochemistry of lipids, though I'm an agronomist, but I had interest in mustard crop. And then I learned some techniques. I came back to India. There was only one machine of GLC in Eastern India, and that was with the Bose Institute. So Dr. Chakravarti, who was later on Vice Chancellor, he was very nice. I said, can you analyze some of my samples? He said, okay, I'll analyze your samples. That machine also was second generation, not third generation. I wanted 10,000 rupees from the lab, that money was not. Even we didn't have money to buy pesticides and fertilizers. That was the situation. I'm sure a lot of state universities have the same. But what has happened now, the money is coming, but the teachers don't teach anything. They are more particulars. And worse is West Bengal, because all the criminal unions or CPM unions are fighting each other. And ED is doing more of less creating there. So that is what Nita's thing, which is the risk taking is the big issue. Here, nobody wants to really go for any inventions or innovations because this is too much. Who's going to cover this? Even in agriculture, the risk is covered only for drought, crop failure, and it was told that you announce drought, put the leads, and so you'll get the subsidy. That was the situation happened. This is all manipulation that goes into the name of subsidy now. Practically will create a problem. So innovation ecosystems, less resources, commercial pushing capabilities, all these things will come. If any details, I will not go into that also. She gave example of Silicon Valley and then NINC and what is the PUP, big one. PUP and FIP, which is in India and has been for 5 years. IPR issues are a very big one. You'll be surprised that the seed law, which is 1983, the last one, which was presented 2002 seed law, has not been passed yet. 11 years it is still hanging in the parliament.
So we are recording all these things, sir. We will be in trouble if we quote all those things.
No, this is a public domain. Absolutely public domain. It's being discussed by.
Okay, we cover like whatever we have discussed this morning.
So commercialism process, sponsored research, hands-on approach, incentive private sector as well as scientific IPR for pharmacopoeia, etc. Very important documents are there. India is lagging behind in industrial revolution. Pharma is only doing well, and we are copying some of the things that we're doing. Publication came into nature where we are now, etc. Okay, last is knowledge lecture, which is analytical things which are happening, but I think he has created really hope for the policy to be implemented. I'm leaving out the data and all that you said, but what you said, actually is going to be the center for the new Aspire in future. But I think the implementation was the biggest question everybody had in mind. How to implement? The goals are very, very nice, but implementation will be the really challenging task. And with mentioned about the state governments coming in picture, political pressure coming in, political scenario coming in, whether it will get derailed or not. So we only keep our fingers crossed. Probably another 5 years time to see something happen on the ground. Not be there for that time. But in any case, this is what finally came out from Niman's picture. There are a lot of things are happening which we don't know. GST is really happening as a collaborative organization to help everybody, and the goals are lofty, but it has to be implemented now. There are things, other brainstorming sessions will show up, question. And I'll stop here because it's just impossible